For as long as money has existed, someone has tried to hide the truth about it. And the pattern is always the same. A government overspends, a ruler borrows too much, a bank takes on more risk than it can survive, and right before everything collapses, something quietly disappears. A ledger vanishes. A record is rewritten. A financial statement is updated, or an entire archive gets sealed for decades. Most people think history is a story of wars, kings, and inventions. But the real history, the hidden history, is written in numbers. Debts, deficits, gold reserves, interest rates, crop yields, tax rolls, the things nobody was supposed to question. Tonight, we're opening those records. The ones governments burned, the ones monarchs locked away, the ones central banks never intended the public to see. Because when you read the financial documents that were never meant to survive, you discover something terrifying. Every empire that hid its books collapsed shortly after. These are the 12 forbidden ledgers, and together they form a map. A map that doesn't just show our past, it shows our future. 1. The Roman military spend scrolls. Buried in a villa outside Pompeii, archaeologists found fragments of scrolls detailing imperial military expenditures. What's strange is not the numbers, but the corrections. Whole rows scraped clean, totals adjusted, entire battalions funded that never existed. This wasn't bookkeeping. It was inflation, covered up. Rome's real downfall didn't begin with barbarians. It began with bad math someone tried to hide. Centuries later, governments still do the same thing. 2. The lost ledger of Emperor Diocletian. When Rome froze prices during its crisis, Diocletian issued a massive list of maximum costs for goods. Only fragments survived. Why? Because enforcing official prices failed catastrophically. Black markets exploded, and the empire spiraled into chaos. So the ledger was destroyed because it proved a truth still relevant today. You can control money or reality, but never both. 3. The French monarchy's secret debt books, 1,780 seconds. Right before the French Revolution, the monarchy kept 2 balance sheets. One public, one private. The public one showed stability. The private one showed bankruptcy. When the private ledger leaked, it didn't just spark outrage, it sparked a revolution. Within years, the monarchy fell, the economy collapsed, and the entire monetary system reset. Destroy the books or lose the throne. France lost both. 4. The Spanish crown's colonial silver accounts. Spain brought back mountains of silver from the New World. But there's a missing decade, entire years of accounting records gone. Historians now believe those ledgers exposed a devastating truth. Spain wasn't rich. It was addicted to imported silver. Once the mines slowed, the empire defaulted, again and again. Today, analysts say the same thing about nations dependent on debt instead of production. 5. The British East India Company's vanished balance, sheet 1,770. The world's first mega corporation, more powerful than most governments, lost an entire financial record from the year before the Bengal famine. That missing ledger allegedly showed how extreme taxation drained local economies, contributing to one of the deadliest famines in history. When the truth threatens the empire, the records conveniently disappear. 6. The phantom gold reserves of 1,920 seconds Europe. After World War I, several nations claimed gold reserves that, in reality, didn't exist. Documents later revealed that countries overstated their gold to stabilize currency confidence. But which countries lied? The records are incomplete, intentionally. If you think governments don't manipulate financial data today, history says otherwise. 7. The Soviet shadow accounts, 1,930 seconds, 80 seconds. To the public, the Soviet economy was thriving. Behind the curtain, secret ledgers tracked shortages, failed production targets, and collapsing industries. These books were locked in classified archives, many still sealed. Why hide them? Because economic truth is dangerous to regimes built on illusion. 8. The American gold cover ratio files 1,960 seconds, 1,971. Before the US ended the gold standard, a quiet panic circulated through Treasury and Federal Reserve documents. The gold simply wasn't enough to cover dollars in circulation. Then something strange happened. Detailed reports stopped being published. Entire sections were redacted. And in 1971, the dollar was unpegged from gold. Financial historians call it the quietest panic in American history. 9. The IMF crisis probability reports. Leaked in the 1,990 seconds, these internal documents revealed statistical models predicting sovereign defaults years before they happened. Currencies collapse, predictably. But institutions never release the predictions publicly because they know markets would implode instantly. So the reports remain buried, sealed by bureaucratic necessity. If people knew how early crises are detected, trust would evaporate. 10. The Chinese banking system's hidden NPL books. Non-performing loans, bad debts, are the skeleton in the closet of many banking systems. But in China, several years of NPL records simply aren't published. Some analysts believe the numbers could be catastrophic. Others think they don't exist because they were never meant to be seen. Either way, when bad debt becomes uncountable, collapse becomes inevitable. 11. The 2008 crisis off balance sheet files. Right before the financial system imploded, major banks used special vehicles to hide risk. Many of these records were quietly dissolved, redacted, or buried in mergers. After the crash, investigators found pieces of these entities, but not the full picture. Someone wanted the details erased, because if the public had seen the real exposure, the banking system would have collapsed instantly. 12. The 2020-2021 global liquidity backstop documents. During the pandemic, central banks activated emergency liquidity systems far larger than the public ever saw. Some details are still classified. Some are sealed. Some are referenced only in footnotes. One day, historians will study those missing numbers, and they'll ask, what was happening behind the curtain that the world wasn't allowed to see? The pattern. Across 2,000 years of history, 3 truths emerge. Truth has shown. When an empire begins hiding its financial records, collapse is already underway. Truth #2. Every currency, no matter how powerful, eventually breaks under the weight of its own promises. Truth #3. Financial secrecy always comes right before a reset. Empires don't fall when the money runs out. They fall when the truth gets too dangerous. The takeaway. What makes these forbidden ledgers so unsettling is not what's in them, but what their disappearance reveals. Governments don't destroy records because they're unimportant. They destroy them because they're explosive. Every time a ledger vanishes, it's because someone saw a collapse coming and hoped nobody else would. So the question isn't, why were these records hidden? It's, which records are being hidden right now? And more importantly, what happens when we finally see them? Because history shows one last pattern, one final chilling symmetry. Every empire that hid its ledgers, every nation that sealed its books, every government that falsified its numbers, collapsed. Not decades later, not centuries later, but soon after. The past doesn't repeat. It rhymes. And these ledgers, they're the rhyme scheme.